You might be surprised, but the Liberals broke another promise and Biden bombed Syria. But first, world headlines.
A Middle Eastern princess who hasn't been seen in several years released a video alleging that she's being held hostage by her father since 2018.
So I'm in a villa. I'm a hostage, and this villa has been converted into a jail. All the windows are barred shut. I can't open any window.
For 3 years, the world has heard nothing from Princess Latifa, the missing daughter of one of the world's richest men, Dubai's billionaire ruler, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum.
Real-life Aladdin story here. Princess Latifa of Dubai, daughter of the ruler of Dubai, tried escaping from her father in March of 2018 on a boat to India when she was intercepted by Indian and UAE forces. Imagine how brutal her life had to be that as a woman, she was seeking safety and security in India. And this isn't the first time she's tried escaping either. She's made several attempts since she was 16 in 2003, as have her sisters, only to be kidnapped by her dad and forcibly returned home. This is like the opposite of the Liam Neeson movie franchise Taken, where a father, played by Liam Neeson, keeps rescuing his daughter from kidnappers. I bet the king of Dubai was so confused when he was watching this thing. He's like, wait. You mean the dad is saving her from kidnappers? That makes no sense. Like, what kind of a relationship do you have with your daughter that strangers are kidnapping her? After all, Dubai is the Vegas of the Middle East, with a slightly different catchphrase. What happens in Dubai stays imprisoned in Dubai. US scientists have successfully cloned a highly endangered ferret using DNA from an identical animal that has been frozen since 1988. Looks like the nostalgia craze has finally hit the cloning community, and they've decided to literally bring back the 80s. A British man has been deemed not guilty of murdering his wife after he admitted to strangling her due to the stress of the lockdown. Anthony Williams says he suffered from anxiety and depression and snapped when his wife told him to get over it. Now, look, bro, we're all losing it. It's been 1 year of this pandemic lockdown, but we're not using our partner's necks like stress balls, okay? Be a normal person. Bake low-quality bread. Ask telemarketers about their day. Pee in your neighbor's shower. I don't care. Just don't go around killing people. The Trudeau government has broken yet another campaign promise by squashing an NDP bill that would have led to universal Pharmacare in Canada, even though the Canadian Liberals themselves have been promising Pharmacare since 1997. In their defense, Trudeau is finally treating every Canadian the way he's been treating Indigenous people, by repeatedly making lofty promises only to back out in the end. In another example of a rise in anti-Asian racism, basketball player Jeremy Lin was called coronavirus on court by another player. Which is unfair because the Rona is a way better passer and travels a lot less than Jeremy Lin. For more on this and some other stories, let's get to our new long-form segment, The Unpackening. And we're back. So, as usual, we've got another story about a Canadian Liberal promise not kept. Promise made, promise broken.
Wait, what?
Shocker.
Wait, what?
So, okay, cool. So, if you're one of those few people who doesn't need life-saving drugs to, save your life, you probably wouldn't be affected by this. But the Liberals have broken their 2015 promise of bringing Pharmacare into universal healthcare, right? I think that was the promise.
2015, right. I mean, they've been promising this since, 1997? So I think, any minute now. There was some NDP private member bill to roll out Pharmacare, and the Liberals blocked it. And why would they allow the NDP that win when the Liberal plan's coming any second now? Yeah, it's just hold on, it's coming. I know it's been about 30 years of them saying that it's coming, but
it's coming. It's coming. I'll tell you what's coming are missiles to Yemen. That's what's coming.
Right.
I mean, there's no shortage of. Okay, great. I think the cops are coming for us. We've said too much. I don't know if the people can hear, but there's sirens going off in the background.
Yeah.
They never repealed that Surveillance Act that Harper passed, did they?
Oh, geez.
Because they haven't repealed a lot of things. I looked at
It's
the
funny
Trudeau
that we were
meter.
so concerned about the surveillance stuff, like when it was being rolled out, and now we're like, yeah, surveil us. Like, let's...
I remember I was
The
personally...
Patriot Act. People were freaked out.
Yeah.
And it was Bill C-51, right, in Canada. That was the...
That was that omnibus
Harper.
bill,
Yeah.
which had everything in it.
C-51, the
That was
surveillance.
that was the one that also muzzled the scientists, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing is once the Liberals took over, they didn't repeal any of that. Any of it.
They promised that they would unmuzzle the scientists, but once they got in, they were like, we actually think muzzled scientists are better.
Muzzles are scientific too. Like there's it's just I don't know what tortured logic.
But, I mean, it's weird to see Liberal supporters still like go online and defend it and be like, look, man, it was right of them to block that Pharmacare. You know, it's not time to fix the Aboriginal people's water supply. It's a pandemic. We can't do that yet. Like,
There's always a reason
Right.
for the Liberal Party of Canada to not help.
I mean, during the campaign, he promised the electoral reform over, I think, 1,500 times or something like that. Like, the promise was made every stop, everywhere.
Right.
And then once he got in, he was like, well, it got us elected, so it might work after all.
And one of his ministers even
Right.
waved around this crumpled up
the Minister
note.
of Democratic Institutions. That was a tough...
Right, and that
Yeah.
had the formula for the new election system.
Right.
And she's all like, look, Canadians don't understand this. Like,
Right.
what Canadian, like, first of all, way to own your own education system. If you're saying that Canadians don't understand
Right.
a simple
Right.
equation, maybe you should invest in education, but also...
Yeah, the Minister of Education's back there like, I hope they understand algebra.
Well, I
Like,
hope.
Yeah.
Like, what? And also, how condescending is that? We're not going to do it because we don't think you will understand it. You're too dumb
well,
as the taxpayer to understand how we elect people.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's-
might have a point, though, because people are dumb enough to keep voting for them. So,
Yeah, I mean, what were the major promises? The electoral reform,
electoral
broken.
reform, open and transparent government's a big one.
Broken.
Because these Freedom of Information Act requests are still coming back as just a black sheet of paper.
It's like 404,
Yeah.
not found. Sorry.
Yeah.
From the beginning of time, we've been talking about how much to pay for our medicine, right?
Right.
And we still haven't figured it out. So I don't think we will
But
assume.
we don't have to worry because the Liberals are coming with a new one. And I'm sure electoral reform's coming too. And
Anytime.
I'm sure, yeah.
When's
like
the
all
next
that's-
election? That's when it's going to...
It's not declared yet, but no one wants to call one because it's a pandemic.
Yeah.
But I think the Liberals know that they would win right now if one happened.
I don't.
So.
I don't know what we'll get first: election reform or removing the Queen from all Canadian money and references. You know, we still haven't let go of the Queen of England. The only reason the UK keeps the monarchy, at least their stated reason, is tourism dollars.
Right.
Right. They're like, well, they're not whatever little they cost the taxpayers. I think it's like some few pennies per person in the UK. That's the new. That's the monarchy tax or whatever is worth the amount of money that they bring in. Blah blah blah.
The monarchy, man, they're weird. Like I saw some YouTube video on like cooking for the royals,
Right.
And you would expect it to be like this is really challenging. Like I have to make duck l'orange every day, but they like chicken nuggets and stuff. Like they eat. Like
They're just
the
like
chef
us.
the chef was like, this isn't the right way to make this. This isn't what I learned in French cooking school. But they like their nuggies. Like they like things crappy. Like
they want their tendies. Everybody
They
wants
want their
their
like
tendies.
bread, with, like white bread with the crust cut off, and it's like, wouldn't you be eating like
They eat
something
like
healthier?
Trump. They basically eat
Yes.
like Donald Trump.
They look up this documentary; it's amazing. They're like, well, and Prince Charles, the guy with the big ears,
Right.
Yeah. He has there's 17 mustards that he flies with everywhere. Like his personal chef is like, I've got to have these 17 different mustards. They go with him everywhere around the world. If he goes to Africa on some safari or something like that,
I hope our British
this
friends-
mustard cart is being pushed behind
This
him.
is where your tax money is going. Speaking of Biden bombing the Middle East, I don't
Yeah.
even know where.
It was
It's just-
Iranian
ugh.
military targets in Syria. Right?
Iranian military. Why is there always an Iranian military target in whichever country the U.S. is
Yeah.
trying to overthrow?
I think
Every week, there's going to be an Iranian military target in my living room after
Yeah.
this episode.
Russia was upset too because they didn't give them enough notice. Which
Right.
you know,
If I'm not
America's
mistaken, it's about two competing pipelines.
Probably. I mean, I haven't read that much into it, but without reading, I can say
That's
right.
what the Syrian war was about pre-Trump, right? Right before that, when Obama started, just look up ISIS. The United States literally created ISIS, just the same way the CIA created Al Qaeda. It's like the same thing. It's called blowback. Look it up. You're not gonna sleep for weeks, but. Basically, there's a Russian pipeline and then there's a competing American pipeline, and both of them go through Syria, but their end point and beginning point, obviously, one favors the Russians, one favors the Americans. That's what the Syrian war was about. And then Trump came in, not a big fan of the guy, but he was very much against foreign wars and intervention. So he put a whole stop on all that. He's like, and plus there's all that rumor of him being a Russian asset, right?
Right.
So the American establishment thought he wanted the Russian pipeline to be built. So now that he's out of the way, they're back on their whole pipeline. There's this obsessed with laying pipelines. It's so phallic. I can't get over.
Yeah.
They're invading another country to literally as a dick measuring contest.
I can't wait till 20 years from now we're invading countries that have good sunlight, Or
that's going to happen.
We're rolling the solar panels down in your ass.
What I found very sus was how ISIS was quiet for so many years, and day one, January 20th, 2021, the day of Biden's inauguration, ISIS blows up a market in Iraq and even makes a massive announcement about it. Like, no, that was us, by the way. That was us. We did that. Welcome back, neoliberals. Party started again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another CIA op. Everything's a CIA op. ISIS for sure is on the CIA payroll. I mean,
it's good to get back to normal is all I can say.
Exactly. At least the orange man isn't on Twitter anymore.
Right.
So it was either keeping a bunch of Middle Eastern people alive or Donald Trump on Twitter, and we made our choice.
Right before the premium subscription service too. That's
there's a
Trump.
Twitter premium?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like Twitch where you can subscribe to your favorite.
Okay, the tech companies are out of control.
Yeah.
It's just out of control.
Imagine Trump would have pulled in a couple subscriptions there.
Okay. Actually, speaking of tech companies and Twitter and all that,
Twitter.
SNL is good now, apparently.
Yeah.
SNL.
WTF, I love SNL now. Yeah. The Twitter reaction to that was pretty strong.
So Michael Che made this joke when we rolled the tape.
Israel is reporting that they vaccinated half of their population. And I'm going to guess it's the Jewish half.
So his joke is predicated on a very, very specific definition that the Twitter mob is misusing, right? So SNL, so the joke is Israel has already vaccinated half the population, and he's like, I'm willing to bet it's the Jewish half. And the Twitter neoliberal center-right and center-left mob is going after SNL for being anti-Semitic. And they're saying, no, Israel is a democracy, and they vaccinate every citizen, which is right there. You see how disingenuous it is. Because we're not talking about citizens, we're talking about the population, the general population of Israel. It's like, how
they're technically right. It's like every citizen.
Yes, every citizen had full rights in ancient Greece also. Every citizen. Every citizen had land. Every citizen in ancient Athens had property, had clean water. Just don't ask what a citizen meant.
Right.
Okay, like that. They've gone back to minus 3000, which is 3000 BC logic of. I'm sorry, but I'm with. I can't believe I'm saying this in 2021. I'm with SNL on this. We know they're not vaccinating non-citizens who are within their territories. We know this because they put out press releases saying they're not going to do it. This is not based SNL.
But
damn.
I mean, if I was Palestinian, would I be jumping to the front of the vaccine line? I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You wouldn't trust it.
Right.
You wouldn't trust it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the
microchips
issue.
are your best case scenario there. You know what I mean?
I mean, I wouldn't trust if I was in that position. And the term for this is vaccine hesitancy. There's a lot of minority populations in North. Forget about everywhere else. Just in North America alone, that do not trust the U.S. government for good reason. Right. If you look up any number of experiments in the United States, the Agent Orange, the Tuskegee experiments, MK Ultra. In all of those
even just like Cyberpunk sucked when it first came out. Like, let's get to version 2.0 before we start. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, let's let people
Exactly.
get the first batch.
Which is why I was happy that they were testing it on British people first. That's,
Right,
that's totally fine. We're all good
Yeah.
with it. Let's
Yeah,
test the
yeah.
vaccine on the.
But then again, you might not be able to detect symptoms very quickly there. It's like,
It's like, oh yeah, you're.
did they have these webbed feet before, or you know?
I mean, I can't.
Why are
taste
you
or
talking like
smell
that?
it. Yeah.
Oh, you're just from Wales. Okay.
Yeah, the teeth
I
are falling
understand.
out.
bro.
The skin got all pale and sickly.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, that's just being.
You've
British.
lost your taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any excuse to rag on the Brits. Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, oh boy, there's a rise in anti-Asian violence. Again. There we go again. Again. Because of Corona, like the Rona. I mean, Jeremy Lin got people, somebody called him coronavirus in
Right.
the G League.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to play in the G League, which is bad enough. And now
Which is just
he's got to
people are
face
all-
racial
Like,
adversity, too.
you gotta, yeah, man, just leave the
Come
man
on, man.
alone.
I-
Olivia Munn got involved
right.
in
Some guy gets shoved or something.
Well, yeah, an elderly Asian lady got shoved in an argument
Right.
in a lineup outside of a store, and this guy who looked like he was in his 20s, maybe early 30s, shoved her so hard she fell, cracked her head open on the pavement, and like that's just a string of things. People getting stabbed, people getting yelled at. Like you're already getting so much hate,
Yeah.
and it's not even like as a minority in general. But to also have this, it's not their fault. You think
Yeah.
that Asian person made the coronavirus? Even if you believe that the Chinese Communist Party created the virus in a lab.
Right. Or even just forget them creating in the lab. Like they're dealing with it like not telling everyone right away. I don't know. Like they could have played it a bit better. And in general, like the whole Uyghur thing, there's a lot of reasons to criticize the government of China.
Absolutely.
But I think it's such a thing that people do that they're unable to make a difference between like people from a country and then the government of that country. Every time there's a conflict, this happens. Like World War II, you're Japanese, you're going into camp, buddy, because we can't tell the difference between you and someone living in Japan in
Right.
the military. Like after 9/11, there was like
Me.
yeah, right,
Yes, I'm
right, yeah. I remember in
Still
my
can't travel.
in school, some Lebanese kid in my class, everyone was like, "Was it you?" And he's like, "I'm not even Muslim. Like I'm Christian." And so, it's like crazy. I guess it's just a human thing where we
And even
make
the
snap
Chinese
judgments
themselves,
like that.
In China themselves, there's Uyghurs are still Chinese citizens.
Right.
They're also being sent to camps. Right. So there's like, ironically, some of the anti-Asian sentiment comes from other people of color.
Sure.
It's not ironic, actually. It's very normal around the world.
Yeah.
Right. But here we assume that, if you're a person of color, you're probably like, no, trust me, we got problems. Okay.
Yeah.
We got problems. There's a lot of anti-black. We all have all of our communities have a problem with black people and gay people,
Sure.
first of all. Like
Yeah,
brown, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. We all got together one day and we're like, if you're black and gay, we got a problem with you. This was like sometime 5,000 years ago and we still
Right.
haven't gotten over it.
And every system we've created since then has had that ingrained.
Thing, right? So it's a very complicated thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
But
internet
like,
chatter.
it's
obviously.
2021, and
Yeah.
like intelligent people are still like, fuck China, and it's like, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean like, I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, well,
I
they're-
agree. The Chinese Communist Party is terrible.
Exactly. Ooh.
But I've met so many cool people that are from China, and
it's that whole thing where you can't say anything about the Israeli government.
Exactly, right. Michael
Right?
Che, it's like that's anti-Semitic. It's like,
No, it's not.
man. Like you guys are living in an apartheid state. That's you slaughter people
I'm sorry.
every day. It's like
what objective person
right.
can look
Right.
at the actions of a government
Right.
and be like, well, you can't criticize them because they're a minority government. No, the only
Yeah.
minority government is a government that is a minority in seats. But if you're just like not white, that doesn't make you
Right.
a minority government immune from criticism.
And I think like as a response to that generalization that people make, sometimes when you criticize a country, they're like, whoa, that sounds kind of xenophobic. And it's like, that's like the opposite reaction. It's like the inverse of like, overreacting and criticizing a person from the country.
Yeah.
The inverse is like when you criticize a country, someone assumes that you're being xenophobic, and they assume that you're like, talking about the people from the country. It's like, no.
I see people like they're the tortured faces when you try to talk about China, Israel, India right now. The government is fascist as hell.
Like, didn't Joe Biden get into a gaffe about that where he was trying to criticize China and the government about that? But then he had to start off with this blurb about like, well, there's cultural differences and stuff. And then people just took that and they were like, this is your explanation for genocide? And it's like, that wasn't really the point he was making, but it's the fact that he had to start off with that blurb so you don't seem xenophobic. And Trump didn't concern himself with the disclaimer at all. He just jumped right into
exact opposite, right? One guy is a little too on PC,
right?
And the other guy is so PC,
so worried
that nothing's
about
getting
not sending the right message.
It's like, bro, they're killing people for who they are and what they believe. I don't know. It's pretty simple. That's
He's
not
like, well,
good.
There's cultural differences. We're very different people and governments and.
All right, so that was as you can tell from the sudden appearance of smoke in the shot, that's the end of the segment. Hope you see you guys next week. Until then, try to stay alive. See ya. Okay, both of us are in dire need of haircuts. Thank you for watching, and remember to like, share, retweet, subscribe, the whole deal. See you next time.